I am very excited for it.
The Interdisciplinary Conference on Psychedelic Research and the Essentia Foundation organized a debate on metaphysics. Participants Anil Seth, Bernardo Kastrup, and Christoph Koch.
Anil, have you ever had an experience of becoming one with everything?
Compared to yours, it's hard to know, isn't it?
That you lose a sense of Anil, that there's no more Anil, yet whatever remains of you is now one with everything. I'm just asking you.
I remember I left my lab a note before going and say, if I come back as an idealist, please stage an intervention.
If I can have that sense of hyper-reality in that mental realm, how can I be sure that this is any different right now? And what people say is, bro, you're on drugs there, and here you're not. And of course, that's not true. We are on drugs right now. It's called serotonin, and it looks very much like psilocin.
The only thing that truly exists in some sense is the mental, is the phenomenal.
You can't take experience as reality in that sense. It's not an insight.
It is the only reality I have access to. I don't know about atoms. I don't know about superstrings and black holes and brains. All I know is what I see, what I hear, what I touch. Every scientist only accesses the world through seeing.
Could the dying process be accompanied not by a sort of a reduction of the experiential field, but rather an explosion of the experiential field?
The version of materialism that I have can be redescribed in some sense as a Kantian transcendental idealism. There's a noumenon, the thing that's unknown, and everything that we know is sort of on the other side of this veil that will always carve out the...
So you're one of us.
No, I'm not one of you though. I'm not one of you though, because...
Now, the first question I want to open up with is how has the neuroscientific study of psychedelics influenced your understanding of consciousness? Did it make you change your views or theories? And maybe nice, Anil, to start with you on that one.
Well, thank you, Hans. And firstly, it's a great pleasure to be here. I'm sorry it was so hard to pin down, but I'm super happy to have made it. And thank you for tolerating the presence of a pragmatic materialist metaphysical disclosure. You know, I like to wear my metaphysics lightly, but I am sort of working with the idea that materialism is a useful perspective to hold, which is very broadly the idea that mind, consciousness are properties of physical stuff, whatever physical stuff ultimately is. We'll talk about metaphysics more, I'm sure, Bernardo. To the question, which has already disappeared, but how has psychedelics changed informed my understanding of consciousness, neuroscientific study of it? So I think the key thing for me here is that I think psychedelic experiences are a really profound and valuable window that discloses things about experience. It discloses the structure of experience. In consciousness research in general, I think because of the desire to be very well controlled in the laboratory experiments that we do, that Christoph has pioneered over many years, we often really simplify what we study in terms of the conscious experience involved. Dots go to the left or dots go to the right. Is it a face? Is it a house? These are very, very, very reductive kinds of conscious experiences. And so we run the risk of making assumptions about the wider richness of conscious experience. Like, does there have to be a self? Do we have to experience perception in a kind of radical way of disclosing things about the real world? And I think psychedelics can be very, very valuable in this, especially for me when it comes to what we think of about experiences of the self. There's the phenomenon of ego dissolution. This can really drive home how the experience of being the subject of experience is not necessary. It may be there much of the time, but it's not always necessary. This is very, very, very useful. So we can learn much more about what it is we're trying to explain when we're trying to explain consciousness. The other thing, and then I'll stop, is that in trying to get to grips with a complex phenomenon, I think whatever metaphysical perspective you hold, it's great to have some things you can do, some interventions you can make, some knobs you can turn. And just as we can use anesthesia to sort of knock out or potentially knock out consciousness in a controlled and reversible way, psychedelics does something to the brain, whatever the brain is, and stuff happens in conscious experience as well. So it's a very useful manipulation that allows us to track relations between observations we make about brain activity and observations that we might make about phenomenology. That's incredibly useful. It's a way, perhaps, of putting some of this vast tangle of theories somewhat to the test.
Thank you. And if I hear it correctly, don't hear you say any anomalies arising from psychedelic research regarding your views of consciousness that you already had, so to speak.
No, I mean, there's one. I'll give you one story. There was one time. So there's two questions: my own psychedelic experiences, or reading about the study of psychedelic experiences.
Let's save for the next question your own one. Yeah. But maybe, Bernardo, nice to hear you on this question. So how has the neuroscientific, the empirical results we see from psychedelic research influenced your thinking about consciousness?
Well, when the renaissance of psychedelics kicked off around 2006 to 2008, I was already an idealist. So it didn't really change my mind in that sense, but it caused me to explore the broader implications of idealism, which I was not thinking about. In the first phase of the psychedelic renaissance, there were a lot of phenomenological studies, mainly at Johns Hopkins. There was a famous study where they collected the statistics of many different experiencers, and they could say that most people would classify a psychedelic experience as top 5 or even top 3 in intensity and meaning in their lives, right up there with the birth of your first child or losing a parent. So that didn't surprise me, but then from 2012 onwards, there were those studies of the physiology that accompanies the psychedelic experience. And I am an objective idealist, so to me, brain activity is what experience looks like from the outside. So I was pretty certain that the psychedelic experience would correlate with the brain sort of lighting up like a Christmas tree, not a grand mal seizure. And don't you worry, I'm not presupposing that experience correlates trivially with the amount of brain activity. I'm not saying that. But I think I and most of the world expected that a very intense, rich, meaningful experience would correlate with very intense, rich patterns of brain activity.